Good morning, people. I'm just going to tackle this head on. This is Coach Simmons back with another one of my what if, what can go wrong type videos. As we see the imprint of the quote unquote Conference USA, it currently goes as instituted all the way from West Virginia down to El Paso, Texas. But as we know, Conference USA is changing mightily. UTSA in San Antonio, Houston, Dallas for UNT is now going up to the AAC. FAU, which is actually Miami, is also going to the AAC, as well as Charlotte, and I believe that's it for the AAC. We have Western Kentucky and Middle Tennessee State. They're dropping down to the Sun Belt, as well as Marshall and I believe Southern Miss. So, what does that mean for the Conference USA? Chance to rebuild, right? With all the rumored expansion talk, this is what it would look like if everything actually happened. So, pardon my pretty paint. I'm still learning this, but I'm going to start off how Conference USA would look if everything happened the way they're saying. Mexico State and UTEP, fine. It's a rivalry there. I understand that. Sam Houston State does give you a presence in the middle of Texas. I'm not saying it's a great ad, but it's definitely a presence. La Tech and Southern, I think, will be it's a good combination. I do believe that because of the fact that one, they both have fan bases that can solidify Louisiana. And honestly, I do believe Southern fan base is bigger than Tulane's. It will definitely help Southern out because they can definitely get a bigger foothold in recruiting. Jackson State, yeah, we know that it's going to happen. We know all the pros and cons about JSU, the biggest stadium. But with them, you must bring in a couple of HBCUs. So every now and then they have a home game and they can have that rivalry going on. The Battle of the Bands is very important HBCU culture. And I don't see La Tech or definitely not UTEP getting involved with the Battle of the Bands. Jacksonville State was one of the ones they mentioned. Jacksonville State in Alabama is a very accomplished FCS team. It's almost like when they left the OVC, it kind of destroyed it. Right now, they believe in ASUN, I believe. But then moving up to the Conference USA is actually a solid ad. People may think they're looking down, but Jacksonville State is not built like a normal FCS team. Alabama State is having a very down year in football-wise, but their facilities are top-notch in the SWAC. If any SWAC school is going to make a jump, I'm picking the ones that have facilities that can hold at least 15,000, which is required by the seats is required by FBS standards, and ASU does have a stadium which is one of the jewels in the Sun Belt, one of the jewels in the SWAC. They can definitely hold that part, and it can begin a rivalry with them and Jacksonville State being in the same conference in the same state. FIU is one of the holdovers. FIU is a holdover from the Conference USA. They have the Miami market. They're more known for getting in fights with Miami than they are actually for winning, but To have a foothold down there in that emerging market would definitely be something great. And you can almost always start a rivalry with one of the best and the biggest, I believe, HBCU out there, which is FAMU. Now, FAMU wanted to move to the FBS before. They are definitely looking into it. Also, the fact that FAMU has been pushing for years to get into the playoffs in the FCS level. And by moving to the FBS, they can definitely get into a bowl game at 9-2 if they get their record. Now, Liberty, yes, Liberty is moving to Conference USA. They were FCS, but moved up recently and has been doing very good as an independent. Now, the reason why I added Howard, sorry, my picture wasn't that great, but the reason why I added Howard is for two reasons. One, Howard's moving anyway. They're changing out of the MEAC, and I wanted to have somebody who can be a quote-unquote travel partner with Liberty. Just having those two so far away, I don't think that would be a great thing to have one by themselves. So it was either add Howard or Norfolk State. That would be my decision. I picked Howard because, one, you're in DC. Howard has been considered the Yale of HBCUs for a long time. So many Supreme Court justices, academically, they are leaps and bounds above anybody else in this conference. Fight me if you think I'm true. It's no question about that. Athletically, yes, their on-campus stadium leaves a lot to be desired, but they can host games at the DC United Stadium, which I believe the XFL had their DC team at. I believe they just played Hampton for homecoming there. It's going to take a while for these teams to get up to speed as far as football-wise. Right now would be FAMU, Jacksonville State, and Jackson State. Southern, Alabama State, and Howard, or Norfolk, whichever one goes in there. Or Sam Houston as well. So I don't think it'll be much of a wash if people are thinking about, well, they move up and they're going to get ransacked. Looking at the holdovers from the FBS level, UTEP is 6-2. That doesn't happen on a regular basis for UTEP, okay? And they barely beat Bethune-Cookman. Sam Houston State, Jackson State, Jacksonville State, Alabama State, FAMU, and Howard could be within 2 years vying for the top of this conference. I think Alabama State and Southern will be middle of the pack for at least 2 to 3 years. I don't see this being the worst the conference could be. I don't see it being the best. I do see a lot of games, especially with La Tech and Southern and Sam Houston State and Southern. And Southern will have no problem selling out any game when the teams are coming from Sam Houston, Louisiana Tech, Jackson State, Alabama State, Florida A&M, Jacksonville State, and FIU. Even Howard. Those games will be sold out. Only thing I worry about is the games between, well, Liberty does travel, so Liberty is not a problem. I worry about only the games between UTEP and New Mexico State, because I'm not sure people realize just how big Texas is. Living in Austin, it's about a 10-hour drive from Austin, which is middle of the state, to UTEP. So we'll see. This is a suggestion. This is just a theory. I'm not saying this is going to happen. But if it did happen, this is what it would look like. I do believe the middle of this conference with Sam Houston, La Tech, Southern, Jacksonville State, Jackson State, Alabama State, and FAMU in a couple of years are going to be the leader of the conference. But who knows? I could be wrong, right?
Coach Simmons always do a great job.